I'm 32 years old, and the day my family tried to steal the house my grandmother left me was the day I stopped begging them to love me correctly. Aunties, sisters, cousins, listen closely. Because sometimes the people who call you selfish are only angry because you finally stopped being useful. Grandma Pearl looked past me in the hotel lobby and asked, "Why are you carrying an overnight bag? What happened to the little blue house I signed over to you last spring?" Before I could even swallow the shame burning in my throat, my mother smiled like she had just won Sunday service and said, "Don't worry, Mama. We gave it to Tasha. She needs a real home more than Lena does." Everyone went silent. Then Grandma Pearl reached into her purse, pulled out a folded envelope, and did something that made my mother's perfect smile fall right off her face. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you something. Have you ever been the dependable one in a family that only remembers your strength when they need something from you? Have you ever been told to be understanding while somebody else was handed everything you worked for? If you have, then you already know exactly how cold that hotel lobby felt. It was a rainy Saturday evening in Richmond, Virginia, and the marble floor of the Jefferson Grand Hotel was slick with water from people rushing in from the storm. Outside, valet attendants were jogging through sheets of rain, opening doors for guests arriving in polished black sedans and luxury SUVs. Inside, warm lights spilled from crystal chandeliers, and soft piano music floated through the lobby like nothing ugly could ever happen there. My family had gathered for my younger sister Tasha's engagement dinner. My mother, Darlene, had spent 3 months planning it, because in her mind, every family event was less about love and more about reputation. She wanted the right photos, the right flowers, the right people seated close enough to be seen. Tasha was marrying a man named Grant Holloway, a smooth-talking real estate investor who wore expensive watches and treated every room like a stage built for his entrance. I was supposed to arrive from my house. Not a mansion, not some giant estate, just a 2-bedroom blue bungalow on Alder Street with white shutters, a wide porch, and a magnolia tree in the front yard. It had belonged to Grandma Pearl's sister, my great-aunt Lucille, who passed away 2 years earlier. Grandma renovated it herself and legally signed it over to me because, as she put it, every woman needs one door in this world that nobody else can lock. That house was not just a gift, it was safety. It was the first place in my life where nobody could tell me to sleep on the couch, give up my room, pay somebody else's bill, or be quiet because Tasha was having a hard day. I worked as a nurse practitioner at a women's health clinic on the South Side. I spent my days caring for people who were scared, exhausted, uninsured, overlooked, or all of the above. I was not rich, but I was stable. I paid my own bills. I had savings. I had peace. And for 6 beautiful months, I had a home. Until that morning, I had come off a 12-hour Friday shift, slept 4 hours, and driven to Alder Street to pick up a dress from my bedroom closet before the engagement dinner. But when I turned onto my street, there was a moving truck in my driveway. At first, I thought I had the wrong block. Then I saw my white rocking chair sitting upside down on the lawn. My porch plants were stacked near the curb. A stranger in a work vest was carrying a box labeled Lena Bedroom like it meant nothing. I ran up the porch steps and found my sister Tasha standing in my living room, pointing at the walls while 2 movers dragged my bookshelf across the floor. "Tasha," I said, my voice barely coming out, "what are you doing in my house?" She turned around wearing a cream-colored maternity-style dress even though she was not pregnant, just engaged and committed to being the most fragile person in any room. She gave me that soft, wounded look she had practiced since childhood. "Lena, please don't start," she said. "Today is already stressful enough." "Don't start?" I repeated. "You are moving into my house." Grant stepped out of the kitchen holding my favorite coffee mug. He smiled at me like we were at an open house and he was about to tell me about quartz countertops. "Your mom said you were fine with this," he said. "Honestly, it makes sense. Tasha and I need somewhere with character for the wedding content. This place photographs beautifully." "The wedding content?" I stared at him. He shrugged. "We're building a brand. Family, legacy, generational wealth. You know how important visuals are." I walked past him and saw my mother in the hallway, calmly taping labels onto boxes full of my things. "Mom," I whispered. Tell me this is not what I think it is. She did not even look ashamed. She looked annoyed that I had interrupted her. Lena, lower your voice. The movers are on the clock. Why are movers in my house? She finally turned around. My mother has always been beautiful in a sharp way, the kind of woman who never left home without lipstick and earrings, even if she was just going to the mailbox. That day, her lipstick was perfect and her heart was nowhere to be found. This house is too much for one single woman, she said. Tasha is about to be married. She needs a proper place to begin her life. You spend most nights at the clinic anyway. I looked at Tasha. She did not look away. She just placed a hand on her chest and sighed. Lena, it's not like you have children, she said. You can rent an apartment downtown. You always said you liked convenience. The room went blurry for a second. Not because I was confused, but because the betrayal was too familiar. My family had been training me for that moment my whole life. When I was 16, I gave Tasha my summer job money so she could go to cheer camp. When I was 20, my parents used the emergency fund I had saved for nursing school to pay off Tasha's credit card because she didn't understand interest. When I was 27, I moved back home for 6 months to help my father recover from surgery, and my mother charged me rent while telling church friends I was finding myself. Tasha needed. Lena understood. Tasha cried. Lena fixed it. Tasha failed. Lena paid. But a house was different. My name is on the deed, I said slowly. My mother's expression tightened. Not anymore. Those 2 words landed so hard I felt them in my knees. Grant set my mug down on the fireplace mantel and stepped forward. There was a transfer recorded this week. Your father handled it with the county clerk. Nothing shady, just family planning. My father handled it? I asked. My father, Ronald, had been quiet in the doorway of the dining room. He was a retired insurance executive who still talked like every conversation was a board meeting. He crossed his arms and looked at me over the top of his glasses. Your grandmother is old, Lena. She doesn't understand how assets should be used. We corrected a mistake before it caused division. You corrected a deed that had my name on it? He sighed like I was a child refusing to share crayons. Don't be dramatic. You were never meant to keep that house forever. Your grandmother was emotional when she signed it over. Tasha has a husband coming, a future family. You have a job and no attachments. There it was. No attachments. Like being unmarried made me less real. Like because I did not have a ring or a baby, I did not deserve a home. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call the police right there. But then I noticed something on the entry table, a folder with Grant's name printed on the tab. Inside was a copy of a loan application, and across the top was the name of his company, Holloway Urban Development. My stomach tightened. Before I could reach for it, Grant snatched the folder up. Business documents, he said quickly. My mother clapped her hands once. Enough. We have a dinner tonight. Go to a hotel, calm down, and don't embarrass this family. I looked at all of them, my mother, my father, my sister, the man drinking from my mug, and something inside me went completely still. I did not scream. I did not cry. I walked to the bedroom, packed one overnight bag, took photos of every room, every box, every mover, every license plate in front of my house. Then I left. That is how I ended up at the Jefferson Grand Hotel with wet hair, an overnight bag, and no house key in my hand. Grandma Pearl was waiting near the lobby staircase when I arrived. At 79, she was small, but never fragile. She wore a navy pantsuit, low heels, and the same gold brooch she had worn to every important family event since I was a child. Her silver hair was pinned neatly at the back of her head. Her eyes were clear, sharp, and dangerous. She saw the bag first. Then she saw my face. Baby, she said, stepping toward me. Why are you carrying luggage? What happened to the little blue house I signed over to you? My mouth opened, but no sound came out. That was when my mother appeared beside the staircase, smiling like she had been waiting for the perfect audience. Mama, don't worry yourself, she said. We gave the house to Tasha. Lena doesn't need all that space. Tasha needed it more. The piano music seemed to vanish. Grandma Pearl turned her head very slowly. You gave it to Tasha, she said. My mother laughed lightly. Yes, Ronald filed the paperwork. It's better this way. Tasha and Grant are starting a life together and Lena is always working. Honestly, that house was being wasted. Grandma looked at my father, who had just walked up behind her. Ronald, she said, did you file a deed transfer on a house I gave to Lena? My father cleared his throat. Mother, we can discuss this privately. We are discussing it now. Tasha came floating into the lobby with Grant at her side, her diamond ring held high enough for the chandeliers to catch it. Grandma, she said sweetly, please don't be upset. Lena will be fine. She's strong. Grandma Pearl did not blink. That was when Grandma Pearl did not blink. She reached into her purse and pulled out a cream envelope. She unfolded a document, slipped on her reading glasses, and looked at my mother. This is funny, she said calmly. Because according to the trust agreement I signed last year, any attempt to transfer that property without Lena's notarized physical signature automatically freezes every family distribution tied to the Pearl Whitaker Living Trust. My mother's smile twitched. What does that mean? Grandma folded the paper once, very carefully. It means the monthly payments that cover your mortgage, Ronald's golf club dues, Tasha's wedding deposit, and Grant's so-called development consulting fee all stopped 13 minutes ago. My father's face changed first, not dramatically, just enough for me to see the fear slide in behind his eyes. My mother gave a short laugh. Mama, that is not funny. I agree, Grandma said. Theft rarely is. Grant stepped forward. Mrs. Whitaker, with respect, this is a misunderstanding. The transfer was legal. Grandma looked at him like he was gum stuck to the bottom of her shoe. Then you won't mind explaining it to my attorney. Nobody moved. Then Grandma linked her arm through mine and smiled. Come on, Lena. I suddenly feel hungry. The private dining room upstairs was decorated with ivory roses, gold candles, and framed photos of Tasha and Grant looking for rarely is. Grant stepped forward. Mrs. Whitaker, with respect, this is a misunderstanding. The transfer was legal. Grandma looked at him like he was gum stuck to the bottom of her shoe. Then you won't mind explaining it to my attorney. Nobody moved. Then Grandma linked her arm through mine and smiled. Come on, Lena. I suddenly feel hungry. The private like a magazine couple. The whole thing felt unreal. People were laughing, hugging, congratulating my sister, admiring her ring, asking about the wedding venue. Nobody knew that half the room was standing on the edge of a crime scene. My mother tried to regain control. She seated Grandma at the head of the table, placed Tasha beside her, and pushed me toward a chair near the end, like I was an inconvenient cousin. Grandma did not sit where my mother wanted. She pulled out the chair beside her and tapped it once. Lena sits here. My mother's jaw tightened. Dinner started with nervous smiles and forced conversation. Waiters poured water. Grant bragged about a redevelopment project in Norfolk. Tasha talked about turning our new house into a lifestyle content space. Every time she said our house, something cold moved through my chest. Then Grant made his mistake. He lifted his glass and smiled down the table at me. Lena, I want to say personally, no hard feelings. I know transitions are emotional, but once you see what Tasha and I do with the property, you'll understand. That little place was never reaching its full potential. I set down my fork. And what potential is that, Grant? He leaned back. Equity, visibility, leverage. A house is not just a house. It's an asset. Grandma's eyes slid toward him. My father jumped in. What Grant means is that young people today understand how to make property work. No, I said quietly. I think Grant said exactly what he meant. Tasha's eyes narrowed. Lena, please do not ruin my engagement dinner because you are upset about downsizing. Downsizing? I turned to her. You mean being removed from my own home by movers you hired? My mother hissed my name. I ignored her. You stood in my living room this morning while strangers packed my clothes into boxes, I said. You watched them carry out my books, my dishes, my grandmother's quilt, and now you want me to toast your engagement? Tasha's eyes filled instantly. Not with real tears. She could summon moisture the way some people summon Alexa. I knew you would do this, she whispered. You can't ever be happy for me. I almost laughed. Grandma Pearl took a slow sip of water. Grant reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded paper. He slid it across the table toward me. Actually, he said, this can all be resolved tonight. We brought a confirmation document. If you sign acknowledging the transfer, nobody has to keep arguing. I looked down. It was a quitclaim deed affidavit. My name was typed at the bottom. A signature line waited beneath it. My father placed a pen beside the paper. You will sign, he said, keeping his voice low enough that the guests outside the room could not hear. You will not destroy your sister's future over a house. I looked at the pen, then at my father. What happens if I don't? His face hardened. Then you are no longer part of this family. No holidays, no help, no inheritance, nothing. There was a time when those words would have broken me. There was a time when I would have signed just to keep a chair at a table where nobody had ever fed me fairly. But that morning, watching my life packed into cardboard boxes, something had died. Not my love for them. Something more dangerous. My hope. I picked up the document. My mother relaxed. Tasha touched Grant's knee under the table. My father sat back like victory had already arrived. I tore the paper in half. The sound was small, but it cut through the room like glass breaking. Then I tore it again. Grant's smile disappeared. My father stood halfway from his chair. Have you lost your mind? No, I said. I think I finally found it. My mother's face flushed. You ungrateful girl. I reached into my bag and pulled out the photos I had taken that morning. Movers, boxes, Grant holding my folder, Tasha directing men through my hallway, my mother labeling my things, my father's car in the driveway. Then I placed one more paper on the table. It was the loan document I had photographed before Grant snatched it away. Grant went pale. You were not just moving into my house, I said. You were using it as collateral. Tasha stared at him. Grant? He laughed too quickly. That is not what this is. Grandma extended her hand. Let me see it. I passed her the photo. She studied it for maybe 10 seconds. Then she looked at my father. Ronald, why is the house I placed in a protected trust listed on a commercial loan application for Mr. Holloway's company? My father's throat moved. My mother snapped. Because Grant is trying to build something for this family. Something bigger than Lena's little emotional attachment. My home is not your business plan, I said. Grant's voice sharpened. You people keep acting like I stole something. I was creating value. That house sits in a neighborhood about to explode. I have investors ready. With a clean title, I can fold it into a portfolio, secure a bridge loan, renovate 3 properties, and everybody wins. Everybody? I asked. Or just you? Tasha stood up. Stop attacking my fiancé. Grandma did not raise her voice. Sit down, Tasha. My sister sat. That was the power Grandma had. She did not need to shout. People obeyed because somewhere deep inside, they knew she had receipts. My mother tried to slap her napkin onto the table, but Grandma lifted one finger and she stopped. Lena, Grandma said, do you have somewhere safe to sleep tonight? I swallowed. I booked a hotel room. No, she said. You'll stay with me. My mother scoffed. Mama, you are overreacting. Grandma turned to her. Darlene, if you say one more word defending theft, I will have my driver take me to the county sheriff before dessert. The room went silent again. That should have been the end of it. But families like mine never stop when they are caught. They only change costumes. The next morning, I woke up in Grandma Pearl's guest room to my phone buzzing nonstop. 43 missed calls. Texts from my mother, my father, Tasha, and 2 aunties who apparently had been told I ruined the engagement dinner because I was jealous of Tasha's happiness. Then I saw an email from my credit monitoring service. A new commercial loan inquiry had been filed under my social security number. I sat straight up in bed. 10 minutes later, I was in Grandma's sunroom with my laptop open. Rain tapped against the windows. Grandma sat across from me in a robe, drinking coffee, calm as Sunday morning. It's not just the house, I said. I know. I looked up. What do you mean? You know? She reached beside her chair and picked up a folder thick enough to make my pulse jump. I was waiting to see how far they would go, she said. Grandma, don't use that tone with me, baby. I am old, not foolish. She opened the folder. Inside were printed emails, bank notices, county records, and screenshots from Grant's investor pitch deck. The first page showed a photo of my blue house labeled Phase 1 Anchor Property. My hands went cold. He was pitching my house to investors? Grandma nodded. And your father knew. So did your mother. They believed if they could bully you into signing after the paperwork was filed, it would become a family matter instead of a criminal one. I stared at the documents. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed you to stop waiting for permission to defend yourself. That hurt. Not because it was cruel, but because it was true. Grandma leaned forward. I watched you shrink around them for years, Lena. You made yourself smaller so Darlene could feel like a good mother, and Tasha could feel like a star. I gave you that house because I wanted you to have proof that you deserved space. They tried to take that proof. Now you get to decide whether you want peace or approval. I could not speak. She slid one document across the table. This is the original trust clause. The deed cannot be transferred, borrowed against, pledged, sold, or refinanced without your in-person notarized consent and my attorney's verification. The document your father filed is not just invalid, it is evidence. I read the clause twice, then 3 times. For the first time in 24 hours, I breathed. Grandma handed me a business card. Call Mr. Kaplan, he is expecting you. By noon, I was sitting in a law office downtown with Grandma Pearl on one side and a silver-haired attorney named Samuel Kaplan on the other. Mr. Kaplan had the calm face of a man who had spent 40 years watching liars make paperwork mistakes. He laid out the facts clearly. The deed transfer filed by my father contained a notarized signature that was supposed to be mine. It was not mine. The notary stamp belonged to a woman named Felicia Marr, who worked part-time at a title company Grant used for his real estate deals. The loan inquiry was tied to a lender in Delaware. Grant had submitted the house as unencumbered property belonging to his future wife's family. My father had signed as family trustee. He was not the trustee. My mother had signed as witness. Tasha had signed as incoming resident. And Grant had already scheduled an appraisal for Monday morning. They were moving fast, Mr. Kaplan said. They thought I would sign last night, I said. Yes, he replied. And when you didn't, they tried to proceed anyway. Grandma looked at him. What happens now? Mr. Kaplan removed his glasses. Now we give them one chance to confess in writing. If they refuse, we file a police report, notify the lender, contact the county recorder, and refer the fraudulent notary act to the state attorney general's office. I thought about my mother standing in my hallway labeling boxes, my father threatening to cut me off from a family that had been cutting pieces from me for years, Tasha calling me jealous while wearing my future like a costume. Do it, I said. By 4 o'clock, the letter was sent. By 5, my mother called me. I answered on speaker with Grandma and Mr. Kaplan sitting beside me. My mother did not say hello. How dare you involve a lawyer? I looked out the window at the city skyline. How dare you forge my signature? She inhaled sharply. This is exactly why people think you're difficult. No, Mom. People think I'm difficult because you call me difficult every time I say no. You are destroying your sister. Tasha tried to take my house. She needed help. She needed a rental application. Grandma covered her mouth, but I saw her smile. My father got on the phone. Lena, listen carefully. If this goes outside the family, you will regret it. No, I said. I already regret keeping it inside the family for this long. There was a pause. Then Grant's voice cut in. You're making a mistake. That house is worth more inside my portfolio than it will ever be as your little single-lady cottage. Something in me went quiet. Thank you, Grant. For what? For saying that while my attorney is recording the call. The line went dead. That night, Tasha posted a photo on social media from my front porch. She wore a white dress and held a mug that said Future Mrs. Holloway. The caption read, Building our dream life, no matter who tries to block our blessings. I looked at it for a long time. Then I sent the screenshot to Mr. Kaplan. Blessings, Grandma muttered from her recliner. People love calling stolen things blessings. Monday morning, Grant showed up at Alder Street with an appraiser, a photographer, and 2 investors from Raleigh. He expected a tour. Instead, he found me standing on the porch with Grandma Pearl, Mr. Kaplan, a county recorder representative, and 2 police officers. Tasha arrived 10 minutes later in sunglasses big enough to hide half her face. My mother and father pulled up behind her. My mother looked furious. My father looked afraid. Grant tried charm first. "Lena," he said, smiling for the investors, "this is unnecessary. We're all family here." I stepped aside. Mr. Kaplan walked forward with a folder. "Mr. Holloway, this property is under legal protection due to suspected deed fraud. Any attempt to access, appraise, photograph, borrow against, market, or transfer, it is now documented as part of an active complaint." The investors looked at Grant. One of them said, "Deed fraud?" Grant's face tightened. "It's a family misunderstanding." Grandma Pearl stepped onto the porch. "No, it is not." Everybody turned toward her. She looked small standing there beneath the magnolia tree, but I swear the air shifted around her. "This house belonged to my sister," she said. "I gave it to Lena because she was the only one in this family who ever understood what a home means. Not leverage, not image, not content. Home. And every one of you standing here tried to take it from her because you thought her quietness was weakness." My mother snapped, "Mama, please don't embarrass us in front of strangers." Grandma looked at her. "Darlene, you embarrassed yourself when you watched movers carry your daughter's life out of her own house." Tasha began crying. "Grandma, I didn't know it was illegal." Grant said Daddy fixed it. I looked at her. "You knew it was wrong." She lowered her eyes. "You just thought wrong was fine as long as it helped you." Grant turned to the investors. "This is emotional manipulation. The title is being corrected. Mr. Kaplan handed one of the officers a copy of the forged deed. "The title is not being corrected," he said. "It is being restored." The officer asked Grant to step aside. Then he asked my father. Then the county representative showed the notary record. Felicia Marr, the notary, had already admitted she never met me. She notarized the signature at Grant's request after my father assured her it was just a family correction. She had also provided text messages. My father sat down on the curb. My mother whispered, "Ronald?" He did not answer. The investors left without shaking Grant's hand. That was the moment the whole performance cracked. Grant turned on Tasha first. "You said your family controlled the property." Tasha's mouth fell open. "You told me the transfer was handled." My father stood up suddenly. "Enough! Nobody is talking without counsel." Grandma laughed once quietly. "Now you want counsel." The police did not put anyone in handcuffs that morning. Not yet. This was paperwork crime, slow crime, the kind that moves through offices before it moves through courtrooms. But they took statements. They collected documents. They warned Grant not to enter the property again. Then Grandma changed the locks. Not a locksmith later. Not tomorrow. Right then. She had arranged it. By the time the last cruiser pulled away, I stood in my living room surrounded by half-packed boxes and furniture pushed into strange places. My home looked bruised. Grandma touched my shoulder. "Do you want to stay here tonight?" I looked around at my scattered books, my overturned chair, my grandmother's quilt folded wrong in a cardboard box. "No," I said. "Not tonight." She nodded. "Good. Healing and possession are not the same thing." 3 weeks later, the investigation widened. The lender in Delaware withdrew Grant's loan application and flagged him for suspected fraud. The title company fired Felicia and turned over internal emails. My father was removed from all trust advisory roles. My mother lost access to Grandma's monthly support payments. Tasha's wedding venue canceled their contract after the deposit bounced. That part, I admit, brought me a little peace. But the real ending came at the bridal shower. Yes, sisters, they still tried to have a bridal shower. My mother believed denial was a spiritual gift. She rented a garden room at a country club outside Richmond and invited half the women from her church circle. She told everyone there had been a temporary misunderstanding about property paperwork and that family unity would prevail. Grandma Pearl received an invitation. So did I. I was not going to attend. Then Mr. Kaplan called. They are planning to announce that you donated the house to Tasha as a wedding gift, he said. I closed my eyes. Of course they were. So I went. I wore a simple black dress, pearl earrings Grandma loaned me, and the calmest face I owned. When I walked into that garden room, conversations dropped one by one. Tasha sat near a table stacked with pastel gifts, looking thinner and angrier than I remembered. Grant was not there. His attorney had probably advised him to stop attending crime-adjacent brunches. My mother walked over, smiling with every tooth except her real ones. Lena, she said through clenched lips, I hope you came to make peace. No, I said. I came to stop a lie. Her smile vanished. Before she could respond, Grandma Pearl tapped her spoon gently against a glass. The room quieted. My dear friends, Grandma said, standing beside Tasha's gift table, I have an announcement to make. My mother's eyes flashed with panic. Grandma continued. There has been confusion regarding the blue house on Alder Street. Some of you may have heard that Lena gave it to Tasha as a wedding gift. That is false. Whispers moved through the room. Tasha stood. Grandma, please. No, Grandma said. You sat in Lena's home while strangers packed her belongings. You let people believe generosity was happening when theft was happening. Sit down. Tasha sat. Grandma opened her purse and removed a single page. This is a certified restoration of title. The property belongs solely to Lena Monroe. It has never belonged to Tasha, Grant, Darlene, or Ronald. Any statement otherwise is false. My mother's face had gone gray. Then Grandma looked at me. Lena, come here. I walked to her side. She handed me a key. Not the old one. A new brass key. This is yours, she said. But I also want everyone in this room to hear what my granddaughter decided. I looked at the women staring back at me. Some looked shocked, some embarrassed. A few looked like they had been waiting years to see my mother humbled. I took a breath. I am keeping the house, I said, but I am not moving back in right away. For the next year, it will be used as temporary housing for women leaving financially abusive households. My clinic is partnering with a local nonprofit to manage referrals. Grandma Pearl is funding the security system and legal support. The room went completely still. My mother whispered, You are turning family property into a shelter? I looked at her. No, I am turning my property into a door nobody else can lock. Grandma's hand found mine. For the first time that day, my voice trembled. I spent most of my life thinking being a good daughter meant giving until nothing belonged to me. I thought if I sacrificed enough, maybe my family would finally see me. But some people do not see sacrifice as love. They see it as permission. Nobody spoke. So here is the lesson, I continued. Do not steal from the dependable one. Do not mistake silence for consent. And do not call something a family matter when what you really mean is you don't want witnesses. From the back of the room, one of my mother's church friends started clapping. Then another. Then half the room. Tasha burst into tears and ran out through the side door. My mother stayed frozen near the cake table, surrounded by pink ribbons and the ruins of her story. 6 months later, Grant's company dissolved. His investors sued him. My father accepted a plea agreement for his part in the fraudulent deed filing. He avoided prison but lost his license to advise on financial matters and spent every Sunday sitting in a court-ordered ethics class with men half his age. My mother sold the house she loved, bragging about, and moved into a condo across town. She still tells people I was influenced by lawyers and outsiders. That is fine. Some people would rather lose everything than admit they taught their daughter how to survive without them. Tasha called me once from an unknown number. She said Grant left. She said she did not know who she was without him, without Mom, without the wedding, without the house. I listened, then I told her the truth. I hope you find out, I said. But you cannot do it in my home. The blue house on Alder Street now has a keypad lock, a stocked pantry, fresh sheets, and a porch light that stays on all night. Women come there when they need 72 hours to breathe, to think, to call a lawyer, to remember they are allowed to exist without being controlled. I visit sometimes after work. I sit on the porch beneath the magnolia tree and drink tea with Grandma Pearl. She always asks if I regret exposing them. I always tell her no. Because I did not lose my family that year. I lost the fantasy that they were going to become the family I deserved. And once that fantasy was gone, there was room for something better. Peace, a key in my own hand, and one door in this world nobody else could lock. Sometimes peace begins when we stop asking the wrong people to protect what is sacred to us. Lena's strength was not in fighting louder, but in finally choosing truth, boundaries, and a door no one else could lock. Family love should never require losing yourself, and when kindness is rooted losing yourself, and when kindness is rooted in courage, it can become shelter for someone else.